इसका बंद मत करना एक बार जो वो रिकॉर्डिंग है। हाँ शुरू हो गई। Hello everyone, welcome back to we are back with the live stream. So I'm Tushar and I'm here with Himanshu. Today we'll discuss the events of the week. First of all, the major event was the elections that took place in Bengal and the mandates that came ahead. So elections took place in five states, four states and one union territory: West Bengal, Assam, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Uh, two, three, two results were expected. One was almost expected, and one was a big surprise. So the Assam elections and the Kerala elections were pretty much expected to go in the direction that they did. Assam went to BJP, and Kerala went to the Congress and
United
its
Democratic
alliance,
Front. Yeah.
UDF. Uh, BJP first for the first time will be forming a government in West Bengal in its history. And lastly, the biggest surprise of this election was the securing of 107 seats by TVK party of actor Vijay Joseph, which to the surprise of everyone came out of nowhere and swept out both major parties DMK and AIDMK, and is has and will be possible highly likely be forming the government with Vijay Joseph as the CM candidate. Yesterday they tried to prove the majority, but they fell one shot. But this time but I think it is only a matter of time that they prove their majority to the governor and lay the claim to the as the major leader of the majority.
Yeah,
So
tomorrow
first,
they will take oath
yes,
uh, in front of the everyone. So yeah, it's surprising that TVK was able to win elections just being 2 years on the ground, and
yeah,
yeah, to defeat kind of like what we see in Tamil Nadu is like Democrats and Republicans, where DMK with ADMK, and so it's like a Libertarian Party winning in US apart from a Democrat or Republican Party. So it's kind of like that they uh,
yeah,
beat them in their
a
own
very
turf and
yeah.
made it a three front war. Yeah.
Yeah, and came out as the biggest. Not even like it was not even an even contest. Like they have really swept it, and that is coming even after DMK government was really strong on all the governance indicators. This even after that these election results came. This also questions the premise that elections are really about economic performance.
That definitely is true. Elections are not won on economic performance. So, like, there are a lot of factors involved, like personality, charisma, leadership. Then cadre strength is there. Then you have the messaging. Then all the cost calculation they have in picture. And yes, the freebies they given, or the kind of pre-election they either they send some booze or some biryani party or anything to get folks to vote. So yeah,
Yeah,
so it's kind of a multivariate, and the thing with GDP growth is it takes time to for every normal folk to get the results or get affected by it, and maybe when TVK forms the government, and within 2 3 years they might feel the change, and they will feel that it's because of TVK those changes have come, and it could be because of the DMK's performance. That effect is now affecting the common citizens, and they are feeling the change and the growth.
yeah. And also talking in terms of how it is relevant for our party, which shows that all this that the dynamics are basically changing, and you don't necessarily have to be a career politician doing social activism for a really long time to become a credible candidate in the eyes of the people. As long as people, basically, you have to generate trust, and doing social activism is one of the ways of generating trust. But anyway, you have credibility among people. They are willing to give you votes. And also, like, there has been a whole lot of criticism about, like, these people are not like they have high education rate, but they are still electing film actors. What is this? How is this logical? This sort of a pseudo alignment that only highly qualified academics should qualify as leaders. I don't buy into this, because also, like, filmmaking is not that easy enterprise. Very few people are able to make a career in this. So that isn't to say that being a filmmaker necessarily qualifies you for a leadership role, but still, it doesn't take you out of the race either. Also, there is like if that was the case, like everyone knows, like all the last scenes of Tamil Nadu have been related to the film industry. So the state should have been in shambles. And right next door, what have all these qualified communists and Congress leaders have done? While Tamil Nadu has surpassed the GDP of Pakistan, Kerala has been flailing after the Middle East money has dried up. So,
Yes.
leaders in democracy can come from different fields, but what matters is that they are able to deliver on the promises that they have given. Now the question
Although
comes,
there
what?
are some
Yeah,
criticism, like what can happen with a new political party is that since they are new to governance, they'll be dependent on the same Babu structure to actually go ahead with their reforms or their plans. So, which can be problematic. So, let's see how Vijay handles that Babu problem, which he will have to face because he's new to governance.
these nitty-gritty of, like, people don't concern themselves with these nitty-gritty of the governance. Uh, it like it is the same difference between theory and practice. Like, in theory you can be as beautiful and as magnificent as you want to be, but when it comes to practical reality, there you have to get hands on and coordinate thousands of people to get to deliver on it. And these are really two different set of skills, and being good at one doesn't necessarily mean it can be translated to onto the other. So it is challenging, and people are really like, if you promise people big things and you don't deliver on them, people are really big at backlashing at you, until and unless you do some uh, shady stuff and try to play the game of, oh, I couldn't do because of this, now I will be able to do this. People are sort of ruthless in that way, that if you overpromise and cannot deliver, then they have the biggest resentment for you. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, like, let's see how it. We wish him well. Although his policy platform is basically more freebies with lesser corruption. There has been no particular industrial policy as such or economic growth policy as such. None that I heard specifically anything about. Talking about West Bengal, first of all, for the first time, Mamata Banerjee will be out of power after 15 years. She got elected in 2011, 2026. She is out of power. Strangely, she said that I have not I have not been defeated and I won't resign as CM. So let's see how that plays out. Uh, 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 none none of the other leaders have used this sort of strategy, and it is quite strange that none of the media people have criticized her for this sort of behavior. Uh, don't expect a 72-year-old to behave in such a manner after serving three consecutive terms. And all this, anyways, uh, maybe it's hard to comment on what what her calculations are for behaving in such a manner. So TMC
Yeah,
lost, and it lost by a huge margin. BJP managed to secure 207, 208 seats, and will be forming a comfortable majority government. And the structure of like the decline of Bengal has been the greatest tragedy of post-colonial Indian history. Even during the colonials, Bengal was one of the peak regions of India. Kolkata was the jewel of not just India but Asia, and it contributed almost the Kolkata region contributed almost 25% of the national GDP at a point of time. So that was the prominence of Bengal at one point. But post independence, Congress governments came, but eventually things went like there was the free equalization policy. But after that, the serious problems arose when with firstly the Naxal movements and and then the communists. When the communists came into power, it was 30 year, 3 decades of stagnation. They came in power in 77 and continued to be continuously remained in power till 2011. First of all, the CM was Jyoti Basu, and then came Buddhadev Bhattacharya, and both of them ardent communists. And first of all, they in the first term they tried to do land redistribution and did decentralization of power. But decentralization of power didn't mean that decentralization of power to people. Decentralization of power meant decentralization of power to cadre members, and they followed the Chinese and the North Korean and the Soviet formula of party is state and state is the party. And this resulted in local party leaders intruding into every single matter we had to go through party members, whether it was buying cement for your house or some internal dispute on your family. Even if you had to get admission of your children to the school, you had to get the approval of some local party goon. So this was the level of intrusion that communists brought into the society, and made the once culturally rich and intellectual powerhouse of the cultural and intellectual powerhouse of the country, uh, brought all that to a halt. They into by favoring they were always for like we are for small businesses, but they also made it about we are against big businesses and against these large exploitative capitalists. They introduced this gherao culture that simple protesting is not enough. You need to corner the factory owners and don't let them work until unless they let you work. And the number of strikes went from like some 10% of the year to 30% of the year. The workers were striking, and I mean, amidst all these conditions, how do you expect economy to grow? And over a period of 30 years, West Bengal and Kolkata lost all its prominence, and it dropped the ranking dropped from fifth, somewhere around fifth to 20. Currently, it stands at 24th. So post 1991, when the rest of the country said their problems didn't come out too much before the 1991 reforms because the rest of the states were doing equally bad. But post the 1991 reforms, when the BPO and all the tertiary sector boom came, Bengal was left behind. They were still busy regulating and controlling atoms while the rest of the country was shifting to bits. So this resulted in the disparity is becoming starker and starker by each year. And by 2000, it was pretty much clear to the communist government that we have been left behind, and we need to industrialize. We need to bring more industrialists and open more IT parks and all. But what happened was, since they have little believe in rule of law, and their default mode of political action is violence, tremendous violence. They have violence. They have the contribution, biggest culture, political contribution of communists have been making violence a regular part of politics. And even the Sabhya Bhadralok or the gentleman, the Bengali gentleman, in such a culture, political violence is considered pretty normal or not considered an aberration. So this was the contribution of communists. But now, when they shifted the locus from small businesses to inviting businesses and giving them lands, then disputes started happening. First, there was the Nandigram, and then there was Sandeshkali and Nandigram. I think these were the two main. Nandi, the news that everyone remembers is that Nano wanted to establish a factory in West Bengal, and the land was some 3,000 acre, some big number of some big amount of land was given, but it was not. It's some 80% to 80 to 90% was acquired, but few farmers were not willing to give the land, and they were given uh, their inhibition was about that their land would forcibly be taken or they would not be given proper compensation. So this resulted in them protesting, and the protests kept escalating, and local communist leaders brought in the police and shot the protesters, and the problem kept escalating. And then Mamata Banerjee came in, and she went on a strike for that give the land back to the protesters and things like that. And at one point, Tata was like, "This project is infeasible now, and we need to move out." And immediately the law goes that CM Modi of Gujarat texted them that you are welcome, and then
Mm.
that is how the nano factory went to Gujarat.
So Mamata
So
Banerjee was basically catapulted into the main
yeah, yeah,
as the main leadership by being anti-industrial, which was uh, the
yeah,
communist, which was the communist flank. So she stole the communist flank and became much more left than the communist.
yeah,
So it is
yeah,
correct that communists in their like year ends did try to industrialize, although
yes,
it was like the usual crony way of giving land parcel to industrialists and uh, generating jobs. That's the usual way it happens in India. But
yes,
yeah, so Mamta Banerjee basically outflanked the communist in being communist, and
yeah, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and when she came to power, she continued pretty much the same policies with the same type of cadre, and there was no discernible change even after 15 years. She just the cosmetic changes were made here and there, but no major change came as such. And the state has been in continuous peril since then. She did manage to introduce a whole lot of these welfare schemes, for women and the backward classes, and then the minorities. And she also initially she also changed her position on illegal immigration. Uh, Initially, she was a hardliner against illegal immigration, and later she softened her stance. So that came into play as well. So BJP tried to breach her bastion, has been trying to breach her bastion for previous three elections, and has have came really close, but and this time they crossed the mark. So, but talking about what we can expect from the future, so there won't be that big of a change because it is years of inertia has accumulated, and there needs to be a structural dismantling at the very bottom of the level. Like the state has penetrated into the daily lives to such an extent that, as I mentioned, that even if you have to buy cement for your house, it has to go through the local party. Like the local party leader will tell you, okay, you buy from here. When the culture of cuts and commissions is such deep rooted that even the Narega wages, there exists a cut in in the Narega wages. Like somewhere, like if the wage is 300, the cut will be of 30 rupees or something like that. So this is a hyper corrupt culture, and incentives are aligned in such a way that uh, either either everyone is swept out, or you use the current system and the system perpetuates itself. Uh, and if the system perpetuates itself, then BJP will be no different from TMC. And but if they uh, but if they go in the other direction, then they will face huge resistance, and they will be sabotaged in the next election. So it is a fine line that needs to be walked, and let's see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like we talk
and
about the Babu culture in India, like Babus being entrenched everywhere. The same problem in Bengal is with the whole Hafta Vasuli culture, with the whole political might behind it. From local level till the state level, everyone is entrenched in it, and they need their cut. So it is a huge
Yes,
issue, and I'm not expecting BJP will do those things, since the aim is to retain power. So they will continue with the same kind of structure. Like, let's see. It will be great if they are able to dismantle it, but I'm not hoping that it will happen. And this needs a Javier Miles kind of person who just says fuck it and basically dismantles everything. So because it's so
yeah,
deeply entrenched.
it yeah, it is remarkable that it is not talked about how great contribution Bengal was making to the independence movement, and what great cultural contribution it was making to the country and the world. There were Nobel Prize laureates. Nobel Prize laureates were coming out of these of the state. Rabindranath Tagore got the first Nobel Prize. Then there was Satyendranath Bose. Then there was others who were Satyendranath Bose, and there were others. They were producing great literature, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, and they were producing social reformers. They were producing revolutionaries. Anushilin Samiti came out of it. A whole lot of people were taking inspiration from Bengali revolutionaries, and major members of the Congress party came from uh, Bengal. So it was where the it was to a large extent where the independence movement started, and the British were really careful of how about how they handle Bengal. Uh, they first they partition it, then they then they played divide and rule. They shifted the capital from Kolkata to Delhi. Like they were really careful at how to manage Bengal, and even post post independence, the gradual decline began, and like they still hold themselves in high regard, but the substance is simply stopped because they gave priority to uh, words or culture as compared to real economic might. Traders and major all these Bajaj started in Kolkata. Even Haldiram came first. The first major breakthrough that Haldiram had was not in Rajasthan but in Kolkata. And today also Prabhuji Haldiram is a major sweet house in Kolkata. So Kolkata was the place where you wanted where you could experience social mobility, and with that small cluster produced such great works that are referred even now. But Vivekanand and others, even modern figures take inspiration from them. But post them, it simply declined, and a whole lot of blame goes to the communists. And the culture that they basically they imbibed a culture of fear and resentment into the masses. That anyone who is successful is successful because he looted from you, and these movements like the Naxalite movements came out of the state, and then no, this culture of fear has become the default, and people like this reflects even in small instances. Like someone goes for a street interview. In Bihar, everyone will be giving their opinions freely, like, okay, this is going on, I will be voting for this, I think this of him. But in Bengal, as soon as politics comes up, aside from the youths, if you talk to the people on the streets, suddenly their antennas go up and they are simply zip their mouth and they don't want to speak anything that can reach to some local party goon, and he will try to harass him. Even our friend College Street last year, he got severely uh, he faced severe repercussions for refusing to donate to TMC goons. So terrible decline of the state, and the entire credit goes to entire blame lies in the hands of the commies. And we hope that BJP does something, but I think there is very little chance of that, and we need, as you said, that we need Malay style, someone who who goes out, braves it out, and talks a counter view and arouses the sentiment of the people, and makes the case that things can give people the belief that things can change and things will change, and I promise to deliver you that, and provide them a proper vision and remind them of their greatness and inspire the people to move in that direction and consolidate the will of the masses in such a way that they can restore order. It will take some time, but definitely they will start a new trajectory will come out where a better future will be there as compared to the current stagnation that they are facing. So challenges are there, and there are there are beacons of hope. A whole lot of the the decline of Kolkata. Bangalore was the biggest beneficiary of that. All the educated and young and all the educated and the young people who were supposed to who were supposed to work to Kolkata, and all these industries that were supposed to Kolkata, they shifted to Bangalore, and these large firms that opened in Bangalore, and then there were the clustering effects. So that resulted in Bangalore becoming the IT city, and Kolkata simply becoming irrelevant, neither industrial nor IT, and just enjoying the perks of being the capital of the state and nothing, no economy besides it.
And
So
we can still see those old rusted buildings, no paint,
y- yeah,
and it is seen as the beauty of Kolkata.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When-
Yeah, this poverty, this aspiration, like as Sanjeev Sanyal pointed out, poverty of aspiration and worship of poverty, that has become the ideology of a state that used to have revolutionaries and used to open akhadas, and that used to have revolutionary talk and bodybuilding at the same time. So what where they like the joke goes that they were a country once, and then they declined so great. So yeah, I think uh, in these this will the change a transition in government will open up the opportunity for new strands of thought coming in, and
and I
there's
wonder, I still wonder, like how many old TMC folks have joined BJP, or even the Communist Party folks who have joined the BJP. Uh, and I think that's the circle that kind of happens in Bengal. Like
sure,
old Communist Party members then joined TMC and continued that whole hafta wasuli culture. So yes, so it's a tough job to break the whole power structure.
yeah, okay. And the rest Assam elections, it was pretty expected that BJP would win, and in Kerala, uh, the The best news was that for the first time in 50 years, there would be no communist party-led government in India. Although it is doubtful that there is no communist government in India. Anyways, the Communist Party has been wiped out of Kerala, and Congress Party will be forming the government. The Congress and its allies will be forming the government there. The CM name has not been decided, but the Congress Party will be leading the
Yeah, there is
assembly
a
there.
huge tussle happening between VD Satishan and KC Venugopal. So
Yep.
KC Venugopal is kind of the favorites for the Delhi High Command of Congress, and VD Satishan is the people's choice. And it's very interesting that Malayalis are coming on the street in support of VD Satishan, saying that we reject KC Venugopal and he should not be made the chief minister. So let's see how long this tussle goes, and I hope that Congress Party doesn't fumble this win and actually listen to the people's voice and give the chance to the one they voted for.
Yeah. And talking about the similarities between Kerala and West Bengal. So there also, not to that extent, but certainly all the trade unions and labor union goonery, all the all the lack of industrialization, all the labor reforms and land ceiling laws, and the like. So this shows that they are similar in certain ways, and uh, Kolkata just the Kerala just got a ray of hope because of the Middle East money that came in via the immigrants because because of all the education that they provided. The communists in Bengal didn't bother with it and simply infused propaganda, which has been covered by Arun Shourie in his book Eminent Intellectuals. How the CPI government used to make changes in the texts and used to change history, present a version of history that was compatible with their ideology. And Kerala also they did similar things, but largely the state has been in a continuous stagnation post 1990, post 2000. They have been in continuous stagnation, and all this like you also recently put out a video that all these HDI indicators are all just feel good feel good metrics, and they matter very
Yes,
little, and
yes.
they are just used.
Yeah, because there
Yeah,
is
they
an
are.
upper bound. Like specifically for education, there is a upper bound. Like there is a limit to how much you can go for education. Whereas a
Yeah,
GDP per capita and life expectancy, as we have seen via history, that the growth is continuous. The hockey stick growth is still continuing. So HDI at some point there is a limit to how much HDI can be increased. So,
yeah,
as a measure, it's very lopsided and focus more on the education. And the problem with that also is there's a difference in education in USA and difference in education in say Kerala. There's a difference in quality of the education. So even if they are 100% literate and they have gone through the whole tertiary schooling, uh, there is a huge difference in the way the human capital is or the quality is.
yeah. And if that was the case, there was this quote that Soviet Union has had best trained mathematician, best trained scientists, best trained chemists, best trained physicists. But still, when it came to employment, they went to the United States as compared to finding a job in the Soviet Union. Uh, so this shows that without free markets and without free economic freedom, education is of little use. And communists, it simply goes over their head that free markets matter. So I was going through these, like what you old socialists used to think, and they're fundamental. Like these people have a fundamental problem with freedom, and they are simply scared. They are scared of free markets, which they consider chaotic, unorganized, and dangerous, and inefficient and wasteful. So that was their case, that the chaos of free markets leads to ruin of the people, and it needs to be organized, and the organization needs lays at at the hands of the government. But what they did next was that what does the government compose of? Naturally, it composes of leaders and bureaucrats, leaders or their assistants or whatever. These are bureaucrats. So they say that no, bureaucratization doesn't need to be there. Leaders should be there. Only leaders should be there. So Soviet Union was not real communism. Real communism has never happened because the bureaucracy was in charge rather than the people being in charge.
Yes.
So that is
So
the case.
yeah,
So
USSR was kind of like a socialism. If we go by the definition, that state is owning the means of production instead of the
yeah,
workers.
yeah, state ownership of means of production. And
Yes.
whatever they, it is just a bunch of lies that they are trying to sell, and they have zero contact with reality. And even like the socialist run enterprises, they have little to no efficiency. And all these wasteful talk is just nonsense, because if you read the what how did if you go into the details of how Soviet industrial activity take place, they used to overspend, and they used to optimize for metrics that they put forward, and they didn't realize they didn't realize that when a measure becomes when a measure becomes a thing in itself, then it stops being the measure. For example, that uh, they used to be allotted steel based on the amount of the weight of the cars that they produced. So for greater steel to be allocated, they started producing heavier cars, which led to naturally decline in fuel economy.
Yeah. So
That
yeah, it's the whole knowledge problem Hayek talks about, right? Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
knowledge is basically decentralized,
yes,
and contextual. So it cannot be just you cannot just centrally plan ahead for that. So
yes,
that's where the issue is, and even the calculation problems also comes in. Like how do you calculate which of the scarce material you have to choose? So yes, they were pretty inefficient, and that's why free market works, because there is a pricing system, and price kind of, you don't have to think through a lot of things. You just have to see the price of the material and to know what is how do I calculate the cost of my production. Uh, as simple as that. Just look through the price. And even the USSR used to say that they used to basically copy the prices from the capitalist countries itself, because
yeah, yeah.
they were suffering from that
Khrushchev
same
had this.
problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Khrushchev had this problem that when the rest of the world will be socialist, we we need a capitalist Switzerland to tell us what the prices of commodities are.
Yes. And there
So
was a huge problem of black markets there as well. So like black markets kind of emerge. You call it black markets or white markets. If you don't legalize it, then this there are black markets. So they had lots of black markets, which kind of helped them sustain as an economy. uh, and with all the corruption, the bureaucrats doing the corruption and getting their cuts as well, which yes, Stalin did try to purge them and all, but in between he used to purge the good geniuses as well. So that's the thing with the whole communist structure.
yeah, and their economic failures have been endless, and they try to make saints out of people who were really not really saints. There are no poor common. There are no poor socialist leaders. All these people who in the even the United States as well, they all these social democrats, now that they are millionaires, they have a problem with billionaires. And even these communist dictators, they used to enjoy luxury. They had private trains, they had big penthouses, whether it was Ceausescu or it was Stalin, whether it was Mao. They had private trains. They had endless servants to serve their needs. So they pretty much enjoyed all the luxury while claiming to be. fighting for the people and for the revolution. Uh, this talk is
And can you
particularly
not only that, like their continuous scope continues, like after China basically destroyed its housing market. Can you imagine, a lot of people invested in that housing market and then it suddenly came crashing. Now they're saying now the housing is affordable for all.
yeah.
After
Now it's
destroying the
affordable housing. Yeah,
so that's affordable housing after making those guys poor. Pretty
yeah,
great plan.
yeah. And this talk is particularly relevant because what libertarians need to understand is that, like, we were discussing this today only, that why anarcho-capitalism is not that appealing of an idea, and talking about what the libertarian revolution is supposed to be. What is the end goal? So, first of all, let's dissect what what was the stages of history or historic materialism that Marx proposed. Was that first there was primitive communism, then there was feudalism, then there came capitalism, then there will be socialism, and then ultimately there will be communism. So in primitives communism, every primitive societies, everyone the resources used to be owned collectively. Then it shifted to feudalism, where basically kings and feudal lords used to own the resources, and peasants used to work for them. Then the society transitioned to capitalism, where the owners of the means of production widened, and till there was a whole huge working class. Then he predicted that the relations will change, class struggle relations will change, and capitalism will transition to socialism, where state will be owning the means of production on the behalf of the people, and there will be no private ownership, and everything will be owned by the government. And eventually, that will pave way for the collective. That will pave way for communism, which is the ultimate aim. And there will be collective ownership of all the means of production, and everyone will be basically owning everything. So this, and everyone will be free to do anything they want. There won't be any poverty and things like that. That was the dream that they sold, and history. Although Marxists try to say that Marx was right, and history has been moving in that direction, I would argue that that is absolutely wrong, and libertarian assessment is correct. But this, but what has not been sufficiently developed in the libertarian thought is that what will be the progress of society to what will be the ultimate libertarian society? The answer that is given is anarcho-capitalism. But there is as much theoretical problem as much there is political problem in understanding the concept of anarcho-capitalism, because everything anarcho-capitalism, basically everything will be privatized. There will be no collective ownership. That is what anarcho-capitalism proposes, right? So the society will transition from, but that is economically right, but politically it is not understandable. Politically, what is understandable is that the individual will have perfect sovereignty over himself, and he will be free to do whatever he wants as long as he is not violating the property rights of others. That is supposed to be the ultimate political society that exists. That will be the utopia. That individual is free to pursue whatever his passions call for him, and the only foundation he will have on himself is the property right. He's not violating the property rights of others, and there is voluntary exchange between everyone. So I think we came up with a good term, that is sovereignism. And
Yeah.
sovereignism is basically individual has complete ownership of himself, society, and he does not need to bow to any collective interests. And he is fully free to associate and dissociate himself with whatever he wants. Now,
Yes.
this idea is very unsettling, specifically to the communist minded. And this is a test that whether this is a test whether you trust humanity in individuals or not. Because if you don't trust individuals, then how can you trust them collectively?
Definitely.
Because because how is this imaginary scenario possible that every individual should have voting rights, but every individual can't be trusted to have right to self protection and the right to decide what will be a good life for him, but he can decide for the collective what will be good for the collective. How is that possible? There is a logical contradiction in it, and the arc of history will move in the direction and has been continuously moving in the direction of empowering the individual in greater and greater way, so that he has to depend less and less on other people's labor for fulfilling his desires. Like the technology of the printing press enabled an individual to not rely on verbal transmission of knowledge. The internet, the transportation and communication technologies enabled individual to not rely on other people for transmission of information and transmission of goods, uh, and technology, both in terms of their energy involved as well as their brain power involved. Now, with the advent of internet, the technologies of blockchain, the technologies of AI, all these are empowering the individual more and individual and raising their productivity at the same time improving their freedom. Like with each generation, car ownership has improved. With each generation, the own the property of each individual has improved, has increased, which is basically what we call as wealth, that each individual has more and more of things. And more of things have enabled individuals to do more and more things and enjoy life better. It is a separate question that the individual are still struggling with how to navigate life better, because that earlier slave structure that existed no longer exists, that other people told you what you're supposed to do. People are still figuring it out in what direction they want to take their lives. But there will come a time when when it will become pretty popular that each individual has to find his own path and he doesn't need to rely on others for his own redemption. Uh,
Yes.
Talking in religious terms, the society will be moving from a monotheistic to a polytheistic society where each individual can decide his or her own value system and his or her own god, that this I want to devote my life in service to these values and these purpose, and I want to associate with these people, and all those associations will be voluntary. And to a large extent, the earlier communists and the people who basically were attracted to Marxism, they were not attracted to I don't think they were attracted to all these promises of utopia as such, but they were much more attracted to the idea of individual freedom and freedom from oppression and equality and things like that. And Marxism was never going to promise it. The most psychopathic elements were attracted to Marxism because of the centrality that it gives to state capture, and all the dictatorships that it has produced. But nothing like that is going to happen in libertarian direction of moving towards sovereignism.
Yeah, so
So
communists used to talk about freedom from exploitation, freedom.
yeah.
Yeah, so freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
opposite of that happened. Gulags came, labor camps came. They
Yes.
still exist in North Korea and other countries. Severe poverty
And
came, famine came, rationing came,
to be
and
fair, with
civil.
the tech upgradation, we have actually improved the productivity, and uh, in their terms, we have reduced the exploitation as well,
Yeah,
because the knowledge itself is accessible very easily to everyone now. Now it's just up to them how they utilize that knowledge. uh, it's not being controlled by the state, it's not being censored by anyone. You can just uh, grok it, or use chat gpt or whatever ai
yes,
tools we have. So it's kind of moved us towards more freedom, as they say, freedom
yes.
from exploitation.
Yeah. And they still believe in this some utopia. Like I think most of them are misguided, and if they are introduced to the ideas of libertarianism and sovereignism, they will pretty much find their appeal in this as and all these feminists and uh, basically like the soul that drives uh, people who are not that drives people who are attracted to Marxism or socialism is equality. But Marxism never give them the equality that they desired and the taming down of the hierarchies that they desired. It is only libertarianism and sovereignism that gives them freedom from any hierarchies that they despise and any exploitation that they despise. It gives them equality. It gives equality of opportunity to all, and it is up to us and our political project to present the alternative to the like. If Marx was the ultimate evolution of socialist thought that starts in late 18th century to the mid 19th century. It is our duty to evolve the concept of libertarianism to bring it to the masses in such a way that they find that this is much more better and much more feasible and has a better track record. And this is much more scientific and rational as compared to any other system, and it is much more ethical and moral as compared to any other system. And this is a system that will win and is bound to win. It is only a matter of time. And all this era of Keynesian statism and these are inhibitors that are inhibiting the acceleration towards greater good of the society and humanity. Right now, poverty is being caused by the state as compared to being eliminated by the state. The talking about the origin of how did the Naxalite movement come about. The explanation is given that they were like the story goes that in the near Darjeeling in Naxalbari, there used to be the zamindari system, which was established by the British. The zamindars, which were basically feudal lords, were made owners of land. Tenant farmers used to work on land; they didn't own the land. They used to give a share to the zamindar, who gave them to the British in the form of taxes. And this system continued even after independence. And the Marxists came to the farmers and said, the Marxist communists came to the farmers and said that you are being exploited by these zamindars and you need to revolt. Uh, One farmer decided that going against his zamindar, he decided that I'm going to till the farm and consider it produce my own. And that's why, and that landlord shot him, and he was brought in front of the panchayat, and panchayat said that apologize to him and say that you won't ever shoot again. Now that landlord, being the idiot that he was, being the arrogance that has been carrying from the feudal system, the zamindari system, he said no. If he ever tries again, I will shoot him again. So this escalated the conflict, and now violence erupted in the area, and zamindars were getting shot. Local police first tried to help, but then later they gave up. And now Charu Majumdar leading this movement started expanding that everywhere the zamindari system existed or where the farmers
Yeah.
exploitation system existed, they started revolting, and time to time they considered Mao as the inspiration for their movement, and they waged very guerrilla warfare on all these zamindar and the government, and they didn't believe
Yeah.
any in the electoral process, and they wanted instant solution to the problem, and
Yes.
that is how all this came about. This is really a watered down version. Now someone can go into the nuance and all, but this is basically, in libertarian terms, it was a property dispute problem, and it needed a property rights solution. But no one thought in these terms. Marxists said that let's just flip the board and do whatever you want, and we will
Mm.
back you and use violence as a means for getting it.
Yeah.
And for 60 years, the country and countless lives were lost, and
Yeah.
in the fruitless violence.
Yeah. I
And
mean, even when Proudhon talked about property is theft, he was talking in the context of feudalism. Like what used to happen was the tillers and the farmers used to grow the land and everything, and basically those monarchs and kings just gifted those land, saying now you are the noble. So basically changing the lords, but those farmers were never able to own that particular piece. So in that sense he was talking about properties theft. So basically it was talking about, it's kind of like what even we criticize, like how state starts giving some land parcel to their favorite cronies. So it used to be
Yes.
even during those time it used to be that. Now even the same structure is maintained. So I think the real problem for the communists are the cronies, or the rent seekers, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the fight should be against these folks who are the rent seekers.
Yes. And the biggest, the greatest contribution that, like, this problem is not unique to India. This problem exists in every third world country, and everywhere the communists were able to exploit the resentment of the tenant farmers, uh, who were working in the old relations, old economic relations. They were able to exploit on their resentment, and then foment a revolution that foment a fruitless, violent revolution that is simply created more devastation and didn't solve any problem. The This problem was highlighted by Hernando de Soto in his book Why Capitalism Succeeds in the West and Why It Fails in Every Other Country. And the root cause of all this is that why capitalism succeeded in the West is because they sorted out their property rights issues way before than any of the other countries did. Like,
Yes.
Marx predicted that the communist revolution would come in the countries like Britain that have industrialized, but rather it came in countries like like this, like Russia, where they were starting to industrialize, and China, where they were starting to industrialize. Why was this happening? Because they were still operating in the old property regime, and that was not really a property rights regime, but a feudal regime, and it was much easier to convince people that this was a fight of exploiter versus exploited as compared to the
Yeah.
similar as compared to like the rhetoric that existed in the capitalist factory owner versus the workers that existed in the West.
And
They already had. Yeah,
the funny
let me
part
just complete this
about
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let me just
So
complete
the
this
fun,
point. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, the problem was that when communism became popular in the late 19th century and early 20th century. By that time, the West had already gone through a 100-year cycle of figuring out its property rights, and the laws had been amended in such a way that all the squatters and all the like what is the major problem, or like what is capital basically, and how the old system used to work was that you had property which either it was in the form of land, or you own some assets, like you own some gold or something. You used to go to bank, pawn it off, and give it as collateral, borrow from the bank, which was basically for borrowing from your future self, and start some business and take some risk and generate some value, and then based on it, you used to pay off the banks and keep the money used to. This venture capital system is very recently. Earlier it used to be that you had capital that you could exchange in exchange for money, by via which you could produce more capital, which by which you could keep producing more capital. And this is how the capitalist system works, that you made more capital out of capital. But what happened was that the ground that was on which the system laid was that your assets could be used to generate capital. But since this system didn't exist in the non-Western countries where they could use their capital, it became simply became They adopted a capitalist system with all this dead capital. Like all these squatters, like we have these chawls and all, they don't have really have property rights. They cannot show their papers and say they cannot get loans against whatever property that they have. They have to rely on whatever local goons that whatever predatory lenders that they have.
Yes.
They really cannot get loans based on it and start proper businesses and have proper registrations. And the problem is that the current system is like the system is so expensive that and the barrier to entry is so high that these all these people remain in the informal sector and are not able to monetize on not able to use the all the capital that they have. And as per the estimates, India has approximately $1 trillion in dead capital, which is basically capital that which is basically assets that cannot be used by the people to borrow and all that cash and have to work on all that cash crunch. And since they work in the informal sector, they cannot scale. This is the biggest problem. That's when you work in the informal sector, you cannot scale. You cannot have factories across the country and have contracts if you are operating in the informal sector because the government and the state machinery does not recognize you and you cannot and the contracts that you have cannot be enforced, so you cannot scale. So all these problems have their root foundation in property rights, and communists attacked. They called property itself as the problem. Rather, the problem what really was that property rights need to be sorted out, which needed political intervention and political mobilization. But that process simply didn't happen. That's why all these communist movements and all these revolts like Naxalism in India and whatever forms they had in other third world countries, these movements emerged. So it is our job as libertarians to restore property rights and individual sovereignty, and that is the ultimate solution to the problems that we are facing, not these reservations and whatever welfare schemes that we are introducing. Yeah,
Yeah.
now your point.
So the funny thing about Marx is like when he was part of Germany, and the regime there basically enacted tariffs. They put in regulations, and what Marx saw was monopoly, big crony companies and monopolies in Germany. Whereas in UK it was kind of regulation was very less, property rights were defined, and there was barely any tariffs. So so basically the problems were the tariffs, it were the regulations, it was the welfare state which was an issue. But he saw the capitalist class themselves an issue and said that a monopoly will form and they will control the market. So his
Yeah.
assessment was also wrong in that direction as well.
Yeah, and like, why is Marx given? Why are Marxists so confident, and why is Marx considered such a prominent thinker? And like recently, we had his whatever birth anniversary was there. Like he was basically he was born on 5th May, and all these tributes were coming out. Oh, he was such a great revolutionary and things like that. The credit that he deserves is that he gave an all explanatory theory. Like basically everything can be explained by Marxism. That was his contribution. Basically, he provided a system to think about society and to give an explanation of why the things are the way they are. And that enabled that foundation mixed with with his personality, whatever evil personality that he had, that resulted in this evil system coming out. Like he saw problems, but gave the most evil and convoluted solutions to them. Like these things like property is the problem, and things like and whatever system that there needs to be dictatorship of the proletariat and things like that. All these were violent
Mm.
revolution. Like philosophers only see how the world. It is their job to change them. Things like that. All
Surplus
these were
value is being stolen by the capitalist.
yeah. All these all these come out of all these sound high and intellectual, but before agreeing to that you have to agree with the premise that he believes in the same values as you and the solutions he's proposing are well thought out, and all these solutions are coming out because he has really thought about the thing that he is saying, and he's a great intellectual and he has thought through everything. That's why he's coming with that. That's why he's proposing this solution, and it is hard to question his authority because he is really a deep intellectual. That is what is the appeal of Marxism really is, and that is why they are so uh, arrogant and haughty about their system of thought. And just like and people with personality similar to him are attracted to him. I think all the smugness is pretty much prevalent amongst them. Like they come from privileged backgrounds, have don't have no understanding of how economics of business really works, and have this unusual high uh, necessity for being more coming across as morally right and uh, d- virtue signaling, basically, that what common term that we use, virtue signaling, that they would try to virtue that, oh, we care for the poor and we want their upliftment. This is pretty much prevalent in and it is all like there are only two schools, there are only two political thoughts. One is liberalism, another one is socialism. Liberalism slowly got appropriated by all this Marxism. Liberal became something that Marxist doctrine infiltrated liberalism. But in the 19th century, there were only two schools of thought: liberalism and
and
socialism.
socialism.
Yes, Marx moved the gave a whole lot of texture and theories in the socialism sphere. Liberalism struggled with remaining popular because maybe because of accident or maybe because uh, the realists were much more prominent in liberal thought as compared to the revolutionaries, and that resulted in Marxist becoming popular among the anti-colonials, and Marxist thought becoming popular among the anti-colonials as well. And this resulted in when the middle of the 20th century, all these anti-colonial movements were and all these countries were getting independent. Marx became pretty popular because he was all the Marxists positioned themselves as anti-capitalist, and Lenin cleverly positioned imperialism as the ultimate form of capitalism. So this uh, this allowed Marxism to remain popular both among nationalists and communists, and nationalists, anti-imperialists, and communists. This is where and calling liberals and capitalists as fascists and imperialists. Earlier they were imperialists, later they become fascists, and now they still anyone that is capitalist is still a
and
fascist.
and the funny thing is, the war states are doing, they are counting
Yeah,
it as death by capitalism,
yeah,
when it's the states which are engaging in the war. And
yeah.
like, how is it death by capitalism?
Yeah, and all these like Keynesianism is an extension of socialism. It is not an extension of capitalism. And cronyism is also an extension of socialism because state ownership of only when a state owns the means of production can it give favors to someone to the cronies and to the rich. But when the state doesn't own the means of production, how can it uh, favor and choose the favorites? But still, all these failures are laid at the feet of like this is the failure of capitalism, and uh, and that's why I think we should stop using the word capitalism and stick to free markets because early socialists also used to use the word free markets. It was Marx who particularly popularized the term capitalism to make the demon out of this term and
Yeah.
uh, basically label anyone who is capitalist as greedy and thiftful and immoral. So
Yes.
we need to. This term never. This term was never was coined by them and let them keep them. We believe in individual freedom and free markets and uh, stop using. Marxist terminology and creating confusion among the people. Funny incident like someone was talking to a social reformer who has been working for decentralization in India, and uh, he was really interested in what we were doing. Then, like we were promoting decentralization, and then uh, my the a person said that we are capitalists, and suddenly that person, the activist pulled back, and he was like, "Oh, okay, you're capitalist, you must be greedy," and things like he all the script ran in his mind that you must be greedy and
Yeah.
things like that, and he pulled himself, and he has not contacted us ever since came to know that we are capitalists. So this is the power that the propaganda power that this word yields, and we need to stop using it and be careful about what terminology we use to present our ideas to the common people.
Yes. So
And yeah,
yeah. So basically, it's the same kind of story everywhere. Like even in China, which was full on communist and with whole of Mao purges and everything. Uh, there were two villages which revolted, and they stopped the collectivization of farming. And what they did was they decided to basically divide the property among themselves. And what they will do is they will uh, uh, basically sell their quota, whatever the quota bureaucrat has decided. They will send it, and rest all they will keep it with themselves. And
uh,
this kind of structure works so well that even the bureaucrats or the CCP guys ignored it because it was kind of working. And when Deng noticed about this whole structure in the village, how it is working out, and he said like, okay, let's try something out. Let's see what the capitalists are doing, which we are not doing. And he sent his folks to other countries in Singapore and different capitalist countries. And so then basically Deng kind of reframed it as kind of a Chinese socialism with Chinese characteristic. So I think it doesn't
yes,
matter how we reframe it. He was smart enough to reframe it
yes,
as that. And he said let's test out capitalism, a little bit of capitalism inside China. And they built SEZs. And basically those areas where the enclaves of capitalism, where lot of enterprises boom. And now we see China is very strong, and number two at the GDP growth that's happening there.
yeah. And they're really smart. Like all these modern communists are really smart in appropriating the success of what should be credited to free markets and decentralization.
Yes.
And this neo perverted term called state capitalism. Uh, yeah,
Yes.
state capitalism. Like, okay, the state should be at the funds of, like, this system or this state capitalism thing already existed in India. It was
Yes.
exactly the mixed economy system that Nehru proposed in the first 5-year plan, that the heavy industries would the government would invest and let private players do the job in other industrial in the light sectors. So this model already existed in India, and it failed spectacularly. All this license permit Raj came out of this system. Like, why do you want to give this system another chance when it already failed?
Yes. Yes.
And talking about what the failure came out of this system, there was this like Arvind Motors used to exist in Kerala. King, the king of Travancore, wanted a car at on par with Rolls Royce, and he invited this engineer who built this car, and it was tremendous car, and they wanted to produce it on scale. But since the banks were nationalized and building cars domestically was not a priority, so they didn't get any loans, and the automotive industry in the country suffered because it was not a priority of the
Yes.
5 year the and as when since the automotive industry didn't exist in the country, we never really got high quality cars till the late 2000s. Uh, Even it is only right now that we are getting decent cars that are
Yes.
somewhat on level with the international standard. But uh, we are yet to produce the level of cars that are produced in Europe, like the sports cars or the advanced F1. F1 we haven't produced a single car on par with F1. Why?
Yes.
It isn't like we don't have engineers. It isn't like we don't have the mass market. It is simply because the knowledge that needs to be accumulated over the tinkering and the knowledge and the culture that needs to be accumulated over generations that exists in free market competitions that didn't exist in the country because of all those
Yes.
5 year plans and things like that, and we are struggling.
Yes.
Uh, it is
And
only matter of time yeah, it is only matter of time that we start lagging behind in the space race as well.
yeah, we are already lagging behind, so there's no question on
Yeah,
that. And there was like bank nationalization actually affected Kerala and coastal Karnataka. They used to have a lot of private banks sector, and it used to be a booming sector in Kerala and coastal Karnataka. And due to bank nationalization, those banks were destroyed. So, and basically, we can see the destruction of private property and private capital at the hands of the state, because they had some priorities. They decided that this is what we should focus on.
yeah. And all this like state capitalism is the result that all these all the housing market in China is suffering.
Yeah, you built.
And their stock market has produced zero to no results for the past 15 or 20 years.
Yes, very their stock market was very unreliable, so folks were investing in real estate, and now that is also crashing down, which is being
Yeah,
sold as affordable housing.
yeah.
So yeah.
So several basically the entire what is the entire libertarian fight about? The entire libertarian fight is about getting property relations right, property rights and individual rights right, and everything else follows after it. All these inhibitions about who will build the roads, who will build the hospitals, who will build the schools, all these are legit concerns, but the solution. I don't know why the failure of the existing solutions have not been accepted. Why don't people realize that talking about hospitals that even in the Western countries like Canada and Britain, the nurses revolt, the nurses protest, they leave on whim. People give like women give birth in while on their way to the emergency room or on the hospital floor. There are long waiting times. Like conditions are worse here in India because our hospitals are poorer, but similar. Like there is only 15-20% difference, and healthcare there is expensive. In fact, it is so expensive that people from the West come to India to get their health treatment.
Yes.
So, so this can be solved. Healthcare can be solved by libertarian, because libertarian thought, libertarian policies, not libertarian thought, libertarian policies. Education, state control of education has resulted in like maybe earlier education system was fine, but right now they don't have the scores, they don't have the skill, they don't have the like even after spending almost 50,000 to a lakh per student per year, still there is no like these are this expenditure is even higher than parents spend in private schools. So
Yeah.
what does this say about the education spending? Still no high quality results are coming out of it. So it was a failure in the past, and now it is getting much more. The failure is increasing day by day. And talking about roads, do I really need to show what the quality of the roads in the cities are?
Yes.
So who all these it the like this explanation that oh the government it is all because the government is corrupt or the people are corrupt. No, people were always corrupt. People will always remain corrupt. The point is how do you like as Milton Friedman said, how do you align the incentives in such a way that even corrupt people do the right thing?
Yes.
And that can only work in a free market system. And the, all the brainwashed masses need to realize that this all these like all this entire where is the foundation of socialist thought? It relies in the works of Rousseau, where says that were born in a state of nature, were moral. It is the institutions that corrupted them. This is where the like this is where the entire premise of socialist thought that is popular among the masses starts. That masses are good, but institutions have corrupted them. If the institutions are run by the right people, or if the right institutions are there, then the masses will behave good as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So
this same idea permeated France as well, and they faced revolutions
yeah,
after revolutions, and nothing much came out of it. So
yeah. Even Napoleon acknowledged that on the he visited the grave of Rousseau and he was like, uh, he was the father of the revolution.
yeah.
Mm.
So do we
I
have any
think
Q and A now? Like someone has asked some question. Let's look into that.
yeah. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat. We need live stream, lack of business. Why don't businesses take bigger loans and pay employees more, produce more price, the products at low price? How is it broken of it's affordable to if it's affordable to everybody? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
No,
Lack
he's
of
talking about the
business.
healthcare system. How is it broken if it is affordable to every?
No, no, I
Oh,
no.
he's
This is
talking about
way
housing
older.
market, I think, or what? Which one?
Yeah, it is probably talking about the housing market.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is affordable after you have destroyed the wealth of people who have invested in it. There were
Yeah,
millions of folks who have invested in the real estate market, and you just destroyed their wealth. So, yeah, congratulations to your affordability, where no one is interested in living in the ghost cities. Uh,
yeah, and talking about affordability, it's not like we are against affordability. Yeah, build housing. Yeah, that's not an issue. But the problem is that let don't like what happens when the state intervenes is that state provides loans based on its estimates rather than the million that thousands of people or millions of people making their own calculations and taking the risk by themselves. If they make the wrong decisions, they pay for the failure. And if they take the right decision, they reap the reward of the success. But when the state fails, it takes the benefit of the success, and when it fails, it passes on the failure to the people.
yes, they can basically tax. They can take in debt and continue with the system.
Yeah, and now in this housing crisis, the failure has been passed on to the people. People were the fool who took their loans and who mortgaged who took mortgages on who took mortgages to buy homes, and now they have to pay the mortgages when the yields are not there. So and when the banks default, there too they will have to bail them out via the public fund. So this is why it is a broken system. This housing affordability uh, emphasis was exactly the cause of the 2007 financial crisis.
Yes.
I don't think any other questions are there. If anyone of you has any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we end the stream for today.
Wasn't there
We'll
some
keep
talk
doing.
about keep prices low? What is it talking about? Was it the same affordability question?
I'm not getting it. Why don't businessmen take bigger loans and pay employees more and produce more and price the products at low price?
Okay. Okay. Produce more
Business.
what?
Ha- have you checked? If you know, like all the big companies put out their annual reports. Check out the margins that they are operating on, and check out how what level of margins they operate. The margins in grocery sector is almost 5%, and in the retail sector, 5 to 10% is considered a good margin. So these are as low as they come, and each year they try to lower the prices. It has been remarkable that don't you see that how affordable phones have been, and the prices, all the electronics, the prices have been dropping, and how even after such increase in population and such increase in economic growth, the prices have remained relatively stable for such a long period of time. How has it happened? Because the prices have dropped in value terms, but it is the inflation that has been caused by money printing that the companies need to raise price. You won't even understand the concept of deflation that is talked about in that Austrian economics.
Yes.
So, anyways, I think these are the questions for today. Um, I think we have covered a whole lot of trajectory and a whole lot of topics have been covered. We'll put out the clips for these on our X and YouTube channel. You can watch them later. And any questions that you have, we'll cover them in the next stream. You can write them in the comments, and we'll cover them in the next stream. I think that's it for today. Thank you all. Thanks for joining. See
Yes.
you all next time.
Thank you, everyone.